Hi. Today I will walk back to the stories relating to my attempt to go to some university in US for a PhD degree program. In 1965, one of the things that happened in the latter half was I saw a paper authored by B.K. Sahu, then in the Punjab University, Chandigarh, and Dot Jr. in the University of Wisconsin, Madison, on the discrimination of beach, dune, and shallow water sediments using discriminant analysis. So it created some interest in me. It is the application of mathematical geology and numbers and statistics and so on and so forth, about which I did not have a great deal of expertise or knowledge, so to speak. But yet I wrote a letter to B.K. Sahu and asked him to tell me or write back to me about how he managed to go to Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin. Then very promptly this gentleman, who I met only after 1977 on my return, and in which he said, you do this, you do this, you do this. So I did the very same thing. I got the blank application from the University of Wisconsin, Madison. Then I had fulfilled all the requirements and re-forwarded for consideration. Well, in fact, I got a reply from the graduate school signed by the head of the Department of Geosciences in University of Wisconsin, saying that I am provisionally accepted for the program from the fall of next year, following year. That is 1967. But their condition or rider was that I will have to pay my tuition and lodging purposes myself. That is one. Number two, then I may be able to get an award of an assistantship from the second semester of my studies. In other words, the first semester you spend all the money from your pocket. That's exactly what B.K. Sahu also said. But of course, we know money is the hardest thing to come by in our household, right? So, I couldn't take it. Simple as that. GRE and TOEFL are not a big deal. I was told that I can get through those exams or do those exams once I reach Madison campus. Then another idol in my mind was Robert Folk. Robert Folk was affiliated to or working in the University of Texas, Austin. I wrote a letter to that professor. Then he said, he forwarded a set of blank forms, etc., and then told me to fill this out and send it back. Well, of course, I had, filled everything in proper style and I had sent it back. Within, 3 months hence, maybe at the very early part of 1967, maybe January or February, I get a letter saying that I was accepted for admission provisionally for a graduate program beginning the fall of or September of 1967. Well, what is the catch? Catch is again, one, I have to pay all the tuition boarding expenses on my own pocket, one. Number two, I will take the GRE as well as TOEFL once I reach the campus during the first semester. In all probability, I will get a university assistantship because of my scholastic standing. So that is how I was accepted. But again, what is the problem? I had to put cough up money not only for the expenses there in dollars, but also the travel expenses. Well, what is the default decision? Don't go. That's it. So that is how my cherished dream did not come true. Anyway, then I went to mining and geology. Then I came back to University of Kerala, and then whatever IIT-K program somehow bombed because of the Professor Menon's obstinacy, I would say, if I said so, not to let me go on the first when I got admission. Well, then we had a teacher by name Hari Mohan Bhattadiri when we were in the final year of BSc class. And he's a MSc from Banaras Hindu University. He came in appointed as a lecturer in geology in the University College Trivandrum. He taught us petrology and igneous and metamorphic, not sedimentary petrology. Well, what happened was Bhattadiri sir had in 1963, after he came only in the last term, that is 1963 year, and the first 3 or 4 months. Then Bhattadiri sir all of a sudden was transferred to Kasaragod Government College, and vice K.P. Ramendran Nair, who came back to Thiruvananthapuram, etc., etc. Anyway, so for some reason, after my BSc and after my MSc, Bhattadiri sir and I used to meet with a common friend at least once a week whenever Bhattadiri was in Thiruvananthapuram, in Mr. late Krishnan Nair's home in what is called, we say, opposite Chengachula. Krishnan Nair used to say that opposite fire station Thiruvananthapuram. Anyway, so Bhattadiri sir also was a person who had been to University of Hawaii for a graduate studies and came back after 3 semesters. Bhattadiri sir got an award of a Fulbright fellowship to do his studies in Hawaii. Well, Bhattadiri sir once a while used to tell me, Vikraman, why don't you try for that fellowship? Because I went to what is called the Ministry of Education thrice in 1971 looking for an opportunity to go abroad. All these attempts, bombed, so to speak, for various reasons of my own and reasons, I don't know, of the selectors. Obviously, also keep in mind the number of fellowships available for geology discipline is very few indeed. Because, okay, then I applied, Bhattadiri sir told, I saw the ad yesterday or whatever in the paper. He said, then I said, sir, I looked at it and, that has actually happened in early part of 1971. And Bhattadiri sir said, there is an ad in the paper. I looked up, but very casually, and thought that geology is not one of the subjects. Then I skipped that idea because it is not there. And the last date was over. Then Bhattadiri sir asked me, hey, what happened to your application? Did you apply for it, sir? I replied, sir, geology is excluded. He just called me, you are very foolish in doing that. Don't read once. Read it several times if you don't understand. It is there. That is how I also went to Hawaii. That is the reply of Bhattadiri sir. Well, then Bhattadiri sir said, don't worry. Next year you can apply in 1972. So by 1972 June, I was looking forward to, very earnestly, the ad by the USEFI, United States Educational Foundation in India, asking for, the applications from those people, geologists, or all those people who were to compete in that program must have a job, regular permanent job somewhere in India. Only those will be considered, not fresh MScs. Luckily, I was employed in the University of Kerala as a regular basis, so I qualified for it, and then I applied. Of course, Bhattadiri sir was monitoring it, my application, etc. And then by end of January, the application applying process was concluded. By February 3rd week, I get a letter from the United States Educational Foundation in India, Southern Region in Madras Consulate compound, signed by a lady by name Nalini Shetty, asking me to appear for an interview in the first week of March. Well, it was a very gladdening news. I was not the only candidate from the University of Kerala who applied for it. Krishna Prasad Sridhar, a contemporary of mine in the University College, who then finally postgraduated with a MA in psychology, he was also a candidate. Of course, our interviews were not on the same date. I went for the interview, and we were something like 10 or 12 people. All are employed here or there as lecturers, coming from the states of Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, and Tamil Nadu and Kerala. I was the lone person from Kerala for geology program. So by around 9:30 or so, we were all there because we were required to be there by 9:15. So the documents were checked behind the scene, shall I say, because we did not wait for that kind of screening of the applications, originals. So there were 3 people in the selection process, involved in the selection or interview process. One is Nalini Shetty, and 2 other gentlemen, like maybe in the early 50s. One man had a vibhuti on his forehead and wearing a bush coat. And another man was similarly neatly dressed with a tie, etc. And first item of the interview session was a group discussion which went on for about 20 minutes. And these 3 people were sitting at the end of let's say the last row or behind the last row. All the candidates, we were sitting around a large table and talking about, I don't know what the topic was, but it was a very fiery discussion. And then, there was a warning given, a bell was rang, and then we stopped the discussion. Then, Miss Nalini Shetty said that you relax now, we will provide you with a cup of coffee and biscuits, and we will start the interview after, let us say, 10:45, maybe, yes. Or 10 at 10:30 or 10, whatever, thereabout. Then the interview, as usual, began. A name starting with the alphabet T. I knew very well that I will be the last candidate or one of the last candidates to be interviewed. I relaxed, sat there. And, one after the other, all these 11 guys went in. And, by around 1 o'clock, I was called in. Of course, the USEFI office in Chennai, Madras, in the consulate compound, they definitely kept on feeding us with coffee and biscuit. And most of these candidates who were interviewed went through the interview, they just walked away. And then when it came to my turn, I went in. My interview went for at least 15 minutes. And the man with the vibhuti on the forehead, he has been engaged in, interrogating me about the knowledge and the outlook as a geologist I had in those days. And then I figured out that in my mind that the other man is not a geologist. Of course, Nalini Shetty is only the official or the secretary overseeing the interview part. Okay, then after the interview, the first thing I wanted to do was I wanted to get out of this compound and then grab some 4 or 5 ulunnu vada and a cup of coffee to re-energize myself. Then the next thing was to catch a bus that will take me to Egmore station. Egmore station is not very far. In 20 minutes, from Gemini Circle, those days one would go to Egmore. And my camp in Egmore, whenever I passed through Madras, was what is called a People's Lodge, a lodge looking across the station and in the road to the Gemini Circle. Not exactly facing the road, right across the station, but a branch road leading to what is called the Gemini Circle. Anyway, so I went in there, I relaxed there comfortably. I did not sleep. That kind of sleep doesn't come at that age. If you are energetic, if you are energetic, you will have the same level of energy right from morning till evening or till you sleep. So then I relaxed for a while, and then around 5 o'clock, I just walked around the neighborhood of what is called Egmore Station. And on my way back, I walked into Bukhari Hotel. There is a branch of Bukhari Hotel in front of the train station. From there, I had a stomach full of stuff to eat. Of course, non-vegetarian fries and curries, etc. Bukhari was a famous place for eating non-vegetarian Madras those days. Even now, I guess they may be there. Maybe management is different. Anyway, then next day evening, I got into my train from Sycamore and reached Thrivikramji after 24 hours in the evening. Then following day, I went to Karivattam campus as usual. And of course, Professor Menon, I met in his office, and he asked me how was the interview, etc., etc. I said, sir, it was very good. And most of the people were asking me about my friends, including Krishna Prasad Sridhar. He also came back after interview. Perhaps he took an airplane to go to Chennai and come back. That's a different story. Anyway, so by the month of March last week, 1972, I get a letter. After Krishna Prasad getting his letter of offer, I get a letter of offer with a condition, because in my Krishna Prasad had a blanket offer. He was advised to get ready to depart for United States in the month of first or second week of June. My letter had all the same conditionalities with an added condition which said, if only the Institute of International Education provides sufficient funds, I will be able to go. Otherwise, the offer will not materialize. However, I have to be ready with passport, etc., everything else to go to US. And well, that is not all pleasing, nor it is all depressing. Subject to the condition that there will be some money coming from the International Institute of Education. One thing we have to keep in mind is the South Zone interview happened in Chennai. There is a West Zone in Mumbai, North Zone in Delhi, and a East Zone in Calcutta. So if I stood first in Chennai, there will be others in the field of geology standing first in the other three zones. I don't know. From that, they will have to select the people, and the biggest condition is fund provided by the US government through the Institute of International Education, i.e. New York. Anyway, well, then what happened was by the end of month of April, the laboratory exam, Viva OC, etc., were to be held in the geology department. And on that appointed day in the morning, there was an examiner who came in from, where I was told that from Madras. I did not know this man because, for me, always in my mind, the thought was that I never saw this man. Unfortunately, what had happened was he was the man who interviewed me. Professor late now, of course, he was murdered by goons in his residence after his retirement for some unknown reason or known reason. And this gentleman was the one who interviewed me. On the first day, I said, good morning, sir. That's all I said. But I did not give any special recognition of him because, he had seen me, he had interviewed me for 15 minutes or so, thereabout. Then it never occurred to my mind I saw him earlier. The second day, in the early morning, as soon as we all met for the business, first thing had happened was, Professor Menon wanted me to see him in his office. The word was given to me by a peon. And when I went in there, and Professor Menon asked, hey, Then it was a lightning shock in my mind. Yes, sir. Then I said, sir, I'm sorry. I've seen you in the interview. You interviewed me. You know, Saravanan had a big laugh. That is okay, Thrivikramji. He said, I have recommended you for the award of the fellowship. Then I said, sir, this is what happened. They have conditional offer subject to whatever availability of funds. Well, that much for my selection, in not a set percent selection for the award of Fulbright Fellowship for studies in the United States.